Hello, my name is Codemaster Jamal, and welcome to my second official devlog. This week I started to work on sketches for my character model. The basic idea was to draw the model in paintnet, similar to how a UMA or a character creation system works in 3D. This will show an example of how the different customization options will work once I modeled everything in 3D. So without further ado, let's hop right into it. I found this model of Ash Ketchum from Pokemon through a Google search. As a disclaimer, I hope what I'm doing right now isn't technically illegal, but I'm basically tracing some parts of the model so I can create a 2D base model of my own. I started off by adding some guidelines, a green line vertically and a pink line horizontally. I decided to do this character model digitally instead of hand drawing it because it would take more time to hand draw everything than it will to draw everything digitally. Plus, in paint.net I can manipulate the line art to my liking. I haven't really practiced hand drawing since I was in high school. I've purely done digital artwork over the years, but I plan on getting back into sketching one of these days. I wasn't able to capture how I did this on camera, however I'll show you later in the video. After I set up a few guidelines, I started tracing the head of the drawing. I made sure to use the line tool and set the size of it to 2 pixels, as this was the closest size that would resemble an ink pen. When it comes to anime, there's usually some proportions body-wise that aren't entirely too correct, so I knew that I would have to apply some things I learned in anatomy, just kind of, smooth out the drawing a little bit. I went from that to this right here, because I figured my model needs to be doing a T-pose. Let's get rid of this here in the back. So I figured my model needed to do a T-pose, so I kind of spread out the arm a little bit, but then I realized that it could be proportioned a little bit better. I wanted to be cartoonish, but not so cartoonish. I may settle for this here, but I decided to add a bit more detail to it, and that's where I got to this final one here, where I removed the elbow cap there, kind of let the line there represent the elbow. I'm working on finishing the hand. If you just want to get a peek, see how it looked with both sides. This is how the model looks with both sides. The basic idea is that I would use this paint.net document to do different types of eyes and hair and stuff like that, because I can do that easily in here just as a reference and then transfer it to Blender and get straight away with character modeling. I started to finish the forearm on my 2D model. At first, I didn't want to redo the arm because I felt like I couldn't do it as good as I did the first time. Looking back, I realized that I could have done the forearm a little bit better, but I figure I can fix whatever I have to fix in Blender later. Next, I had to start working on the hand. I actually spent a long time learning how to draw hands when I was younger. Usually there's at least one body part that someone has a hard time drawing. However, after years of practice, it becomes very easy to get the proportions of the hand right. For some reason, a lot of artists have a hard time drawing hands. I always thought this was funny. When I was in college and I talked to my friends who are art majors, they always talked about how they had a hard time drawing hands or feet or ears or something like that. Once I was done, I duplicated the layer by pressing Shift Control N and then flipped the layer horizontally across the x-axis. I then removed the guidelines so the model can match along the edges better, and voila, the base character model is done, at least for the males. I did realize that I was missing ears, but you'll see later that I went back and drew some on. Now that we are done with the front view, we need to start with the side view of the character. Initially, I wasn't going to use any guidelines. However, after a quick thought, I realized that I would need to be able to tell where the top of the head was and exactly where the waist was. With the side view of the character, you want it to be as proportionate as possible. I created some guidelines at the 3 parts of the model: the head, the waist, and the feet. After I put down some guidelines, I started to shape the top of the head. I'm not a big fan of some of Pokemon's facial features, so I will be omitting a few things from my model's design. I want a variation of noses, so not every model will be like this. Even though I'm ripping this from a drawing of Pokemon, I still want my models to have their own unique style and flair, as if it were its own anime. After all, I don't want people calling my game a Pokemon ripoff. When I first saw my male and female Hirata characters, I actually drew inspiration from the Megaman Battle Network series. For the armhole, I had to guess where the arm should be. Although when I finished, I saw that the armhole looked great. Next, we have the bottom half of the torso. I didn't really have much to work with. Ash doesn't wear shorts and thus doesn't show much skin, so I had to guess where the back of the leg was. At this point, I had to rely on a very basic understanding of anatomy. Then I needed to work on the arm that the armhole would connect to. The hardest part of this was making sure that the length of the arm on the side view is just as long as the length of the arm on the front view. A lot of this was purely eyeballing, trial and error. Trial and error is pretty much my approach to everything. I would like to stress the fact that I really don't know how I'm going to do something half the time, but what I do know is that I'm going to try. You try something out, and then you see what works best for you. If something doesn't work out, go back to the drawing board and try something different. Once I got the arm to be the appropriate length, I decided to finish the foot. Remember, I said I wanted it to be cartoonish, but not so cartoonish, meaning I wanted a bit of realism to it, and feet just aren't oval shaped. Finally, all that was left was the ears. For the side view, the ears was rather easy. It was as simple as just tracing the shape of the ear on the drawing. As for the ear on the front view, I actually had a bit of a hard time. I needed to set up some guidelines first. These same guidelines are going to be used for the eyes and the nose later on. But as you can see, it didn't entirely come out too right when I tried to trace it from the drawing itself. For some reason, whenever I traced it, it just didn't look right. After some time, I decided to just freestyle it, and that's when I found the right shape. Then I just duplicated the layer, flipped it, matched it with the other side of the model, and there we go. The front view and the side view are done. For the most part, the base model for the Mayl character is done. From here on out, I just need to make different parts for the model. Of course, I won't really know how this will work until I put this model in Blender. However, I'll save that for another time. If you made it to the end of my video, I greatly appreciate you and your support. I'm working on making better content as well as releasing more videos frequently. Till next time, this is Codemaster Jamal, and I'm signing out.